Hello. I'm assuming this is because I am 1 day and 1 hour later than usual. How is my mic volume? I made a change to my microphone. How do I sound? Someone or there's zero somewhere between 0 and 1 viewers. Someone let me know how I sound. Anyway. All right. We're here. It's Sunday, October 30th, day before Halloween. I am slightly behind. I'm still finishing up page 37, but it's like this far away. Like I'm going to be able to finish it very soon. And the next page, 38, let's see here. Is very manageable. I reviewed to be sure. That was my memory, but it's not easy. I think I've said a few times in the past few weeks, there are no real easy days left with V versus M 1979, but it's not bad. It's very, so like I'm not worried about like falling behind like that. That'll be all right. So finishing 37 today, starting 38 today. 38 I think can be done before Saturday morning, this next coming Saturday morning. And then things get a little crazy again with like the drawing. But it's a very definable stretch. There's really the pages, if I can get through where I'll feel like I am home free. So to remember, so I'm on 37. I'll be starting 38 later today. Once I get to page... Again, no easy days left. But once I get to page 45 or 46, I'll feel like I'm home free. Like all the worst, most challenging drawing, I think, will be behind me. And none of it will be easy after that, but there won't be any of these like pages that I'm kind of nervous about, which is kind of the stretch I've been in for a little while, but now I'm really entering. There's going to be just like a half dozen pages or so that are just, this is challenging. This is challenging drawing, and it's going to take a lot of like patience and going, the frustration of like, that's not quite right. That's not quite right. Like you're just living with that for a little while until it finally is right. This is the analogy. I'm just, when you go camping, you just pull off the freeway and now you have this like bumpy, rocky dirt road you have to go down to get where the campsite is. That's the road I'm on right now. And I just turned off the highway and I'm just starting to get in there. It's like, oof. But again, it's based on my schedule. It's the rest of this year that's rough. Like by the end of December, I'm out of the woods. And it's all like very manageable after that. Some things harder, some things easier, but nothing that's like scary. Like there are pages I'm looking at, and then I know it's hard when I'm not really telling you exactly what I'm talking about, but there are pages I'm looking at in the next 6 or 8 weeks where it's like, I still don't know exactly how I'm going to do some of it. And so that's where the anxiety is, where everything after that is very much like other things I've drawn. And there's less mystery, less unknown about it. Anyway, okay, so that's where I'm at. to recap, a little behind, but fine. I picked up people who are way into the conspiracy thing. I picked up, this is a book that I've been familiar with forever, but never actually read myself. This is Behold a Pale Horse by, what was the guy's name? William Cooper. Cooper was, he's deceased. We'll get to that. He was one of the first guys to kind of write a grand conspiracy theory that just sort of ties all sorts of shit together. So in this book, you have UFOs, you have one world government, you have JFK assassination, you have the origin of the AIDS virus. He goes big. And he's influential in that scene. Also, very arguably deranged. Now, I know they say that about a lot of conspiracy types, that's the way to dismiss them. This guy was a little intense, and he continued to sort of spiral as his life went on. He eventually, from my recollection, people who are way more into this stuff maybe can correct me or remember differently, but he, my recollection was that he got it's not like he disowned any of this stuff, but he got less interested and more interested in anti-government militia type stuff, and stopped paying his taxes. My impression was he went to go live in a cabin somewhere up there. Not paying your taxes is never a smart move if you don't want government interference. But so I guess at one point, the FBI showed up to arrest him for tax evasion. Now, I know for the conspiracy-minded people out there, they might quibble with my portrayal of this, but whatever. My understanding is he started firing at the FBI and actually killed one of them, and they fired back and killed him. So that was William Cooper. But still a very influential book. And what's sort of interesting about it, especially now, this person wouldn't be mentioned in here, I don't think, but a lot of the material in here I would assume would be drawn from this character. There was an intelligence agent, I don't remember if he was CIA or Air Force or whatever, whose actual job, they did a documentary about this guy, whose actual job was to spread UFO conspiracy stuff among that community to help muddy the waters when it came to the government's experimental aircraft programs. This was like a real, this is not one world government stuff. This is actually a thing. They know that this guy, I forgot the guy's name. I'll maybe post it later or something. But this guy, that was his job, to go out there and talk about UFOs, and the government has spaceships and all this stuff. So when you see an SR-71 or something go over, it's like the messaging around it's a little confused now and muddied. That was this guy's job. That guy talked a lot to William Cooper. And William Cooper, I guess, eventually, first of all, he was just taking it all in from this guy for a long time. But I think he eventually sniffed him out. He eventually identified him. That name sounds familiar. I think that might be it. I think that might be the guy. There's a really good documentary about him, which I'm also blanking on the name of. But if you go down the rabbit hole of William Cooper, and you'll find all this stuff. Anyway, I'm sort of excited I'm not going to read this whole thing. This is a dense thing. And a lot of it is, look, I love conspiracy stuff. A lot of this is just deranged, insane. I can't, it's not even entertaining, deranged, fun conspiracy stuff. It's just weird, so I definitely will read all the UFO stuff for research. And then I'll probably, hop around through the rest of it. But I also love, just like D versus M, there's a lot of redacted leaked documents. There's all sorts of weird conspiracy manifestos I've never even heard of that he reprints in here in full. There's all sorts of fun, like, good to have on hand. Good to have on hand, especially for a future D versus M. What can I say without spoiling? I'm reluctant to say anything without spoiling, but some of the stuff in here will be potentially useful for a future D versus M for reasons I will not elaborate on. Okay. Let's see here. What do we got going on in the chat? Downhill from December onward. That is the way it's planned out. Is the page I start on December 31st, New Year's Eve, is probably the last of the rough road pages. And then after that, X number of pages left. Again, I'm kind of being slippery about the number of pages. I don't want people doing the math. I don't want people trying to figure out when it'll be done. It's, I don't need that extra element of, people. But I'm still on track to be done late in Q1 2023. So it's the end is in sight. That's the name of the stream, home stretch. Scott, how are you doing, man? Is that a cowboy right? No, I believe it is Death riding a pale horse per Revelation. Will it focus on that? I don't know what the deal is with this, but anyway. Yes. Yeah, if that's the sad irony. That's the sad rub of, if you want to be like, I want nothing to do with the government, I'm not going to pay my taxes anymore. That is the best way to get government in your life. This is the fastest, most efficient way. Let's see here. So many people. Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I will say this much. D versus M, the meta narrative has always been that a leaker is giving me these files and I'm reading them and comicizing them. Is that a word? I'm reading these and I'm illustrating them, converting them to comics to reveal to the world these secrets. But I didn't steal them. They're being leaked to me, which begs the question, to what end? Like, is this accurate info being leaked? Is this disinformation being leaked? Is it something in between? The one thing, and I again, now we're creeping into weird spoilers for future D versus M's, but the one story I always loved among the conspiracy stuff was the idea that most of popular sci-fi, most fiction is influenced, directed, maybe even partially funded by shadowy government agencies for weird ends, either disinformation or information. But while disinformation is sort of interesting to me, like releasing just nonsense to muddy the waters, like Dodie or Dottie, however you say his name, allegedly was doing. What's always been more interesting to me is leaking accurate information. And therefore, when it comes up, like people say they see something that sounds like a movie they saw or sounds like a TV show they saw, people immediately dismiss it because like, oh, you're just talking about that movie or whatever. So like, and that's the way to control the information, like release the truth, but through like avenues that you cannot take seriously, tabloids or movies or comic books or whatever. I always thought that was sort of a fun idea. And so the examples of that in conspiracy lore would be like E.T. That E.T. was basically a true story, names changed and everything, but the basic premise was, accurate. The idea is you release that, and therefore, like, if 2 years later someone comes forward and says, like, actually, that's all true. I was one of the, the kids and the friends with the bikes and everything. They say, like, oh, shut the fuck up. You watched ET. Like, that's the idea. So it's like release the true thing. So, and that is like modern day, all these shows and movies and everything about the multiverse. The idea is that the government is getting the entertainment industry to help get us used to the idea of a multiverse. They're slowly introducing it. So when the reality of it comes through, we won't be so shocked. We're familiar with this concept. Same with aliens and everything else. I'm not saying I believe any of this, but it's fun. And if you're doing D versus M, like, I have to like figure, like, well, how does this relate to D versus M, and what, at all, or am I going to explore that at all, or whatever. But anyway. Okay. I'm going to get my page open and continue fiddling with the last few little bits I need to do on page 37 to get that in the books. So I am joined, as will be the case probably for a while, by my entity, my D versus M entity, who's already been very useful for sort of position and lighting reference. He's a little blown out on this, it's just the built-in webcam. It's not great. But what I was thinking, this is something I might do tonight. So my intention, I sculpted this guy, and my intention, as the pages go on and I need a different angle and I have a question about it, is to position him and either just like look at him while I draw, or like position him and snap a picture and throw the picture up on the screen while I'm drawing. But then it occurred to me, so he's just clay, remember, non-drying clay. Like, this is what he's made out of. It occurred to me that Louis, my cat, sometimes he's very careful. He's never wrecked anything, but sometimes will hop up on the desk to kind of like look around. And if he somehow did something to him, knocked him over, I don't think he would try to like bite him or bop him or anything, but who knows, damaged him in some way. There is no way I could recreate this guy exactly. Like, I'm an amateur sculptor. Like, this is, like, if I had to redo him, he would look totally different probably, which is not going to work if I've already been using him for reference for past pages. So even though that's unlikely that Louis would destroy this guy accidentally or on purpose, I feel like what I need to do is look at my thumbnails and go ahead and reference photo everything ahead for as long as he's in the comic, just to have that in case some ill fate meets this guy. So that, like I said, that might be tonight where I get photos just in case something happens to him. Okay. Can we have one sneak preview image? A homestretch exclusive. Come on. Do people think the camera's frozen with me if I do that? Can I? I could do that for a homestretch exclusive. But I'm trying to think of the best way to share it. That's what's annoying about StreamYard, is like, you can upload a whole effing PowerPoint, but I can't just upload an image, just to like put an image up. Let me look here. Let's see. First of all, let me see if I still have. Hold on. Let me make a screen cap of a panel to share. This is going to be a ridiculous way to do it. There's probably a better way. I'm going to make a screen cap of the panel I want to share. I'm going to drop it in a PowerPoint. I'm going to upload the PowerPoint and share it like a slideshow. Because sharing screens, I like it's okay. Give me a second. So what is everyone working on today? To share what you're up to. I'll be drawing most of the day. I got to carve a pumpkin at some point, but otherwise I'll be drawing. I don't know if I sound a little congested. The weather has finally cooled off here. And in my experience, living in the desert, anytime there's a weather change, like I think just that makes things bloom or something, and my allergies hit. I'm trying to decide between I think this is the image. I think this is the image we'll do. Okay, I have an image. Let's see here. Animating at Panera with Leanne. Hello, Leanne. Every time I render a shot, I hop back into your stream. Cool. Scripting pages 1 through 10 for Wanderers and Milsanda from Scott Strawtober. Excellent. Fantastic. Halfway done animating. The night eats its own. That's awesome. That's exciting. Okay, let's see here. New. Blank presentation. Create. Picture from file. While I'm thinking of it, while I'm doing this, be sure to tune in this week. We haven't, Jim, have we set, we need to pick a day, Wednesday or Thursday. Top 5 network TV shows of all time. So what we did, we'll reiterate this when we broadcast, but there we go. Hold on. I'm saving. Oh, you know what? I'm going to crop this a little differently. Let's see here. Can you guys hear that? Can you guys hear the lawn work outside? Bear with me here. Perfect. That's better. That's way more. Yes. Yes. Okay. Save. Desktop. Teaser. Okay. Close PowerPoint. Present. Slides. I'm gonna make you go through this whole thing. Desktop. Teaser. I will show you one glimpse, one panel, a page I'm working on. There's an issue with your file. Please try again in a little while. What? No, wait a minute. The government might keep me from sharing this. Okay. Wednesday, 8 p.m. Sounds good to me. So Wednesday, 8 p.m., top 5 network TV shows. When we brought up I had pitched we're going to do TV shows, top 5 TV shows of all our favorite TV shows of all time. And it begged the question, should we include streaming and stuff like that? We decided no, that will be a separate thing. So it's like, well, how are we separating this? Part 1, we're not going to do these one after the other, unless Jim wants to do, he suggests the next week, so he can suggest wherever he wants. But the first one will be network, aka free TV. The next one, at some point in the future, will be subscription TV, cable, streaming, all that kind of stuff. So, and it's in where did it originally air? Was it originally a free thing through an antenna, or was it originally on cable or streaming? Those are the two. The one we'll be doing Wednesday at 8 p.m. is our all-time favorite network TV shows. So you can, everyone knows what that is. And I'm excited. Okay, let's see if this works. There's your teaser image. Take it in. Enjoy. Study, theorize, scrutinize. I'm enjoying doing, though it's technically challenging, it's fun to do like this sort of stark lighting and dark room thing. Like it allows a lot of drama and it's also fun. I don't want to talk too much about this, but it's fun. Like if you've read D vs. M 1975, if you've read D vs. M 1997, you're familiar with the entities, you're familiar with the aliens. So there's not as much of a shock each time in like seeing them again. I'm enjoying that I can reveal them this way in 79, where it's a little more like, what they are just from reading D vs. M's, but it kind of adds to like the creepiness. So, okay. No. Okay, that's it. You guys can go back and rewatch or freeze frame or whatever if you're interested in staring at that. Let's say, huh? Are you guys simply going to say? No. Thank you, Jim. Thank you. And no. Okay. Back to work. Let's see here. What's funny though is when I wrote this sequence, hold on, I'm cleaning up my desktop here. I thought, oh, this might make my life a little easier because like I won't have to draw backgrounds as much and I won't have to worry about all the little details and everything. It's like this, this heavy silhouette kind of, no, it's not silhouette really. It's more heavily shadowed. And I was like, that might be nice. I might be able to blow through those pages. No. Yes, it saves time on backgrounds. True. unfortunately, with the figures, to do what that looked like, you'll have to go back because I already deleted the slideshow off my StreamYard. You have to fully draw them. Basically, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you have to fully dial them in to know where the light is and know where the shadow is. Like you can't just like draw like a stencil and just say like black. Like you need to know where, like where's the armor, where's the helmet, where are their fingers, like where's, you know, like to see like where's, because you got to do this little like rim lighting thing, like this, the little shines here and there to really show that it's an actual figure there and not just a flat shadow. So not only do you have to fully draw the character, you kind of have to dial it in even more than if you were just drawing it normally without a lot of weirdo lighting. Like you need to think about like, well, where's the bodysuit bending and it actually gets a little involved. So, and then you have to really have your composition dialed in and think about it. Anyone out there who draws, you can imagine, like, let's imagine, as you might have guessed here, you're talking about a pitch black room where the light source is an open door with the light outside in the hallway. And you have characters in that room. And you don't want them invisible. You want them visible, and you want to be able to understand what they're doing. You know, you also just don't want like weird shapes. You need like those figures I showed you. You can tell what they're doing even though you barely see them. That's a composition test. You got to try and figure out like, where is my angle where I can give you all the information you need to discern what's happening, even though you can't, in a sense, you think you can't see anything, but you can. You know exactly what's going on. You know their poses, you know their posture. And eventually, as this thing goes on, you know where they are in the room and what they're doing. Like that, you really need to kind of stage that. It's going to get easier as this goes on because there's going to be a second light source. And that allows me to, I don't want to say cheat, but it makes it easier for me to engineer a situation where it's easy to see what's happening. Like I can always, because the second light source is going to be moving. So I can just decide where it needs to be for maximum legibility or clarity. You know, I do want to still emphasize it's a dark room. So that, you know, it's never going to be a clear, like perfectly lit thing, but you want to try and do it in a way where you're seeing, I wanted that sense of, you're in a dark space and someone has a flashlight and they're not always pointing it where it needs to be. Like I wanted that feel, you know? So this is why this is the rough road. One element of the rough road I'm talking about for these next half dozen pages is like getting all that stuff right, where it looks right. And the last thing you want is someone looking at it and they can't even tell what the hell's going on. And to make it so you can tell what's going on, even though it still looks dark, even though it still looks like you can't see anything, even though you do, it's a lot of like, you know, like a little finessey, like just and thinking it through, thinking about where is stuff in space and what angle do I want to look at this. And which is also why, like, I knew I was going to need this guy because I don't know what angles I need. And I don't know where the light is in any given, like I'm deciding it as I go to make it make sense. And anyway, okay. Let's see here. Okay. I loved animals. I was surprised and confused by animals, our last top 5, but I'm always looking forward to whatever the next top 5 is. Top 5 Phoenix, Arizona Mexican restaurants. That's tough. So Mr. Lujan is going to be making the journey to Phoenix in a few weeks and has asked to go to, I don't remember if he asked for the best or my favorite Mexican food restaurant. either is like an impossible question. I mean, I struggle with just top 5 animals. That's like, I got to really think about this. As any Mexican food is a big topic. There's lots of different levels. And like, I tend to prefer kind of hole in the wall, like street taco places, or someplace where I can get a big fat breakfast burrito or something. Now, is that can be excellent, but there's also like legit excellent Mexican food, like where you're sitting down and it's nice, so like, which do you pick? Like, this is very hard for me. I maybe we'll be able to squeak out 2 on either end of the spectrum in the time that you're here. Maybe we'll be able to do just like little hole in the wall place for street tacos one day, and then another day I can take you out to this place that I was thinking about that has the best carne adobada I've ever had in my life. But it's like sit down nice with like, $18 margaritas. So like, I don't know. This is the problem with the carne adobada place. It's a New Mexican Mexican food place. And if I'm trying to represent Arizona Mexican food, it doesn't feel right to take you to a New Mexican place, even if it is in Mesa, Arizona. I don't know. This is very difficult. There's also a third place we need to go for tortillas. This is like an assignment, really. I'm happy to do it, but it's tough. I want Phoenix represented well. Let's see here. No. See, you should not have. Jim is that's one of the things he feels like he must do when he's here, is go to Whataburger. So I think that's happening. Now, he might do that on his own, because I can go to Whataburger anytime. Like, I don't know. But Whataburger, I know, is on his to-do list. Besides Whataburger, it's one of the few places where you can get green chilies on your burger. I mean, how great is that? And jalapenos. You can double up. Nothing's better than a bacon cheese Whataburger with green chilies and jalapenos on it. Awesome. Okay. You can't see this. I can show you from this angle so you can't see. So I have my page open, and then I have, oh boy, there was a flash there. It's probably too blurry. I have D versus M 1975 so far, or a 79 so far. Because I'm hopping, like, sometimes I'm drawing something that appeared a few pages ago, and you're like going back to make sure, like, am I making it look right per how I've drawn it so far? Like, so you're kind of, I'm drawing and I'm looking at how I drew it before. And that's the thing. I think that's my least favorite part of drawing, which I do to myself. I see lots of other comic artists that don't seem to give a shit if a character on page 8 looks, if the same character on page 22 looks the same. Like, they don't seem burdened by that. I half admire that they just don't care, that don't think it's important. And I half really turn my nose up, where it's like, this looks like a totally different person. Like, this looks like a totally different thing. You're drawing this totally different. This person's head was long and thin before, and now it's kind of wide and round. This person looked kind of buff before, and now they don't look that big. Like that, I spend a lot of time trying to like dial in, like, is this person's, do they have a lock of hair hanging like this? Then where is it on the, 5 pages from now? Like, it makes my life miserable. It's my least favorite aspect of the drawing, like the consistency. But I can't imagine not doing it. Like, to me, it's like, yeah, it sucks, but that's the work of it. Like, there has to be some element of work, even if it is something you love, even if it's your passion. Like it has to be some seriousness about what you're doing. I don't know. I don't want to. I have to be very careful. I'm not trying to put that out there like you should, but it's incomprehensible to me to be like, how many spots did this dinosaur have? Well, whatever, and just do it different on every page. No. Like it's like if it looked like that on this page, it needs to look like that on that page. So next week is also going to be a Sunday stream, if I remember right. Double checking, make sure I have this in my head right. Yes, and it will be a special guest, Keith Foster, writer of Kadoja, writer of Three Protectors, just finished his first novel. So he's the writing half of the Making Comics podcast, because it's basically, it's a little fuzzy, but one person's the art person, one person's the writing person. He's the writing part of that equation. So we're talking about writing. We're talking about all things writing. So tune into that. It'll be fun. Keith is a great guy. Making Comics is a great podcast. You should check it out. I agree. And again, I'm a little envious of people who don't care, who clearly don't care, or are incapable of achieving that. And sometimes it's a style thing. Sometimes they picked a look for their comic where it doesn't matter. Like, you're not going to be hung up on, it's a little, but the way D versus M looks, like, no, it needs to, that's the look. Like, the look is, there's a kind of a meticulous, that sounds like a weird self-compliment. I don't know if I want to use meticulous, but there is an exactness in like how I'm portraying things that it wouldn't make sense if, like, I thought this character was short, now they look tall. I thought this character was thin, and now they look fat. I thought this character had kind of round eyes, and now they look more like almond shape. Like, whatever. Like, no, you need to kind of have it dialed in for what I'm doing. But managing partner at Innovator Comics, that's right. He has a long, I was trying to remember all the things he rattles off in the Making Comics podcast. But yeah, it'll be good. I like talking to both those guys. So, and I do, even though I would say I'm in drawing mode right now, and I've done a lot of drawing in my life, and my day job is basically drawing, I do kind of think of myself as more of a writer than an artist. Like more of a writer than a visual artist. Writing is an art, but you know what I mean. So I feel like Keith and I will be able to have a good conversation. But Scott and I did too. They're both easy, fun guys to talk to. So. Okay. I'm looking at my almost done page 37. Something I'm not excited about next year, once D vs. M 1979 is done, and once I get my tax return, like my refund, I always get a refund. It pains me to say it, but I need a new computer. I need a new desktop. This Mac that I'm on, I want to double check the date. Yeah, it's a 2013. It's okay. It's hanging in there. Like, it's not a struggle, but I've reached a point where Adobe won't update past a certain point because I need a different operating system, and this older computer doesn't support any of the newer operating systems. So that's the beginning of the death spiral, especially if you're a hardcore Adobe user like I am. That's not going to work. The reason I'm not excited about it, I mean, there's some things I'm excited about. It'll be great to have a new, fresh, modern, snappier Mac that can do all the things. And I don't like some things chug. Like sometimes when I'm rendering a 1080p video in Premiere, I hear the fan like kick in, and it's just like you can tell it's like it's working. It's like not, and I like trying to run Illustrator and Photoshop at the same time or something like that. I can do it, but it gets a little ropey. I get a little nervous about it. So in some way, I'm looking forward to like new computer will be great. That'll be a lot of fun, and like actually will be a nice little like hit to my enthusiasm when I'm probably going into like figuring out a trade of the first 3 D versus M's and writing D versus M 2001, and you know, like getting like it'll be like, okay, new computer, new workspace. Basically, that's fun. What I'm not excited about, obviously, is, you know, and I went through the little the Apple site, kind of like, you know, where you pick options, and it's like, I think I'd probably want this. I think I want this, and you look at the price tag, and you're like, ooh, that sucks. So that's why it'll probably be, like I said, once this is in the can and out, and I'm making a little money off it, and I get my tax refund, like though all that together, like I feel like, okay, then maybe that can kind of help, like if not eliminate, like severely offset whatever expense is going to come with new computer. But yes, yeah, depending. Premiere especially. Premiere is greedy, especially if you're trying to do high def. I would say after that, Photoshop is kind of it can be a little bit of a hog. I'm even running into it. I work primarily in Illustrator, but I'm even reaching the point where some of the geometry I'm doing, see, and this is like almost crazy, like with vector, generally with vector, you're not going to have much of a problem with it like gobbling up your resources. The problem I run into, though, is I do a lot of stuff by hand and scan it in and vectorize it. And you get these very complicated, like very, very, very complicated geometry. So even though it's vector, it's like very involved. And that's where, like, there are certain pages of this comic so far that, like, even opening and saving them, it takes a long time. And that's vector. Like, so it's, some of that is like, yeah, I'm doing some really involved pages this time. Though there was some in 97 too. I don't know if you've read 97, if that 2-page spread where you see the Mars bot and the aliens walking up the canyon, that thing was a monster to open. Like that, I always was nervous. You have the canyon in the background. You have like the big, it's like full height of the page, like the Mars bot. You have all the different aliens walking like that. Every time I opened that to work on it, it just like, it took a long time to open. Every time I went to move something or change something, sometimes it would like hang. It would make you nervous, like it might crash. If I went to save it, it would do the percent counting up, and you just had to sit there and wait. Like it just, yeah, and every time you're like, I hope this doesn't just kill my computer. There are a few pages like that in 79 already, and there's more to come. I know I have a 2-page spread, I don't know, 10 or 15 pages from now or something, that is going to be crazy. I'm really looking forward to drawing it because I love doing the 2-page spreads. Like it's nice to like, when you're used to like working in little panels and kind of reining yourself into like the economy of a panel, it's nice when you get to do a full page or a 2-page spread. Like it's really fun. It kind of feels like suddenly you get to do a mural or something. It's insane. Like, and so I'm looking for, I've always, ever since I wrote this, I was looking, there was one particular scene where it's like, I can't wait to draw this. And that's coming up in a couple months. But it's going to make my computer work. It's going to be a lot. I haven't even actually figured out exactly. What I might have to do is, I don't know. I'll see how my computer's handling it, but I've even allowed for the possibility that I might have to build layers in Illustrator, then maybe rasterize them and pull them back in Illustrator as just like a high-res raster image in the background to see if that lightens the load. I don't know, but just to see how like I can manage this so it doesn't murder my computer prematurely, because this computer has to last until I get this book out the door, at least. Anyway, to answer your question, yes, Premiere is a hog. Photoshop can be a hog. And with every update of Adobe, it almost never gets leaner and more efficient. It always is just adding like stuff to make it do more, which is cool, but like you need a decent desktop. I'm many OSs behind on my desktop. I looked the other day because I wanted to see like how far behind am I, and this one is, where is it? Yeah, Catalina 10.15.7, which I believe is like 2 or 3 OSs. Like they've moved on to different names. There's, I think, like Big Sur, and like there's a bunch of others that are like, this is several years behind. And it, like, you know, they do the legacy updates, but just now, like, I've gotten where Creative Cloud has this perpetual alert up because it's saying like updates available. And when I go to try to update it, can't do it. I do. And I'm a Mac guy. I don't like PCs. I did PCs for a long time, and then I switched to Mac, and I can never go back. And of course, there's now the Mac tax, where it's not, there's no bargains to be had on the Apple side of the line. But what do you do? Frank, what are you working on today? I know it seems like you're always working, but what's also fun, I've been doing this actually throughout this comic. This comic plays a lot more with light and dark. It's a lot of dark rooms or harsh lighting or big bright areas like office environments where there's overhead fluorescent lights or something. So it's like very well lit. And it keeps like moving back and forth between those different kinds of lighting situations. What's been kind of fun is also figuring out, I've got looking at one right now. It's the panel I need to finish, where something is basically spotlit. Early in the story, there's a character who's standing almost in front of a slide projector. So the character's really lit. And then, hold on just 1 second. I just found a little error. I'm glad I spotted it. Okay. And then in this panel I'm working on right now, you have another character where basically the equivalent of a flashlight is being pointed right at it. And it's been fun to like show like that kind of blown out look with like whatever lines you would normally draw, do them super fine, or maybe even disappearing toward like whatever's closest to really show like, you know, this kind of like bright. It's fun to, you know, with the limitations of black and white, to make that read right. It's been a fun drawing challenge. It's also very good prep for D vs M 2001, because that one, this doesn't really spoil anything. A lot of nighttime forest stuff that I'll be drawing, campfire lighting, flashlight lighting, stuff like that, in like dark outside, with like stars and like shadows of trees, and like that's going to be really fun visually to figure out. And this is kind of a baby step into like thinking about how to show dark and light in sort of a intense way. It's making a thumbnail for the Toronto Creative Cast video going up tonight, pre-recorded video because I won't be home. I'll try to get my, oh, that's right, trunk or treat. Yeah, I gotta carve a pumpkin tonight for potential trick-or-treaters tomorrow. I don't know if there'll be trick-or-treaters or not. This is my first Halloween in this place. I watched, see how that looks. I'm playing with like a shadow on a wall, trying to get it to look right. What is that? Oh, okay. Weird. I watched, there's Del Toro's new like little series on Netflix. It's like Cabinet of Curiosities or something. I watched one of those last night. I think it's the third episode. I think it's called The Autopsy or something like that. And so I love Guillermo del Toro, for the record. Like, he's got a fan for life with me. Like, I don't know. That one was just it was okay. It was gross. I still am having trouble with some of the, maybe I was too tired. Like, there was elements of the story. It's like, wait, what is happening? Why is that? What's going on? Why would that character do that? What is, I don't know. It was okay. The one thing I did like about it, though, I mean, I liked a lot about it, but the one thing that stands out, it's a stupid thing. So regular watchers will know I had an internship in college at a medical examiner's office. So, and when there was nothing to do on some days, I would just sit and watch autopsies as part of the, internship. And so I've seen a bunch of autopsies. And as a result, I am sort of that obnoxious person who, when I see an autopsy in a show or a movie, I don't always say something, but I'm always sitting there thinking, like, that's not how they do it. But that's not right. Like, it's annoying to me, where it's like this is very easy to research and find out how it's actually done. So anyway, there's a few autopsies in this episode of the Cabinet of Curiosities, and it's okay. It's not bad. Like, it was a little distracting. Like, when they're cutting, you can tell the difference between phony special effects flesh and like real flesh, and like how it slices. And like, that was one thing that was like, well, that doesn't look like, as soon as they make the cut, I can tell like how real this is going to be, and it was like, that doesn't look real. But there was one little detail where I could tell, like, oh, I've never seen that in a movie or TV show showing an autopsy before. And that, to me, indicates they did actually watch an autopsy or two, because it's a very weird little thing that most people have no idea they do, and that I'd never seen before. Oh, another thing, before I get to it though, another thing I saw was like, this make me nervous. When at one point he's like stitching up the incision, and like the way he's holding the flesh and like doing the needle through, like it's coming like this close to his thumb every time. It's like, this is scary to watch. Like, you're gonna stab yourself with cadaver contaminated needle. Like, I mean, it's fake in the show, but it's like you would never, like, you would be having your hands very clear of where this giant needle is digging through. Like, you don't want to stab yourself with that. Anyway, the one detail that was very accurate was, and again, I've never seen anywhere else except in a real autopsy. So they do the Y incision, they basically just empty the abdomen. Okay, like all the organs come out, and they're looked at individually, and sometimes there's, sliced to kind of examine, and maybe samples are taken or whatever, but all the stuff is taken out. And at the end, everything goes back in the body, but it's not like a Frankenstein thing where this guy is taking time, like sewing all the organs back in place, anything. What they do is all the organs end up basically in a garbage bag, and they like shake all the organs to the bottom of it, tie it off, throw this garbage bag full of organs in the empty cavity, and then close that up. That's how and I've never seen that anywhere in a movie or TV show until that episode, that like last night. And so the whole time I was sitting there, I was like, I don't know. And then I saw that and I was like, oh, I've never seen that. So someone on that team actually sat and watched an autopsy. And I'm sort of surprised and sort of impressed that they have that detail. But no, well, I don't know. I didn't work in a funeral home. I don't know. I mean, I know there's like people, there's like makeup people. I don't know how I remember that from that. That was a fun movie. It's a really fun movie. But I don't know. I didn't work on a funeral home. I was at the stage where now you're handing off a body to a funeral home. So there's your macabre pre-Halloween detail about how an autopsy goes down. Maybe can I tell any more creepy autopsy stories? I mean, it is the day before Halloween. It's the Halloween stream. So there is one. This one scarred me for life. In a sort of jest, but I think it was the first day I was watching autopsies. In fact, so the woman I interned for, the forensic anthropologist, when I showed up on day one of my new internship, my new college internship, I had my ironed button down and my khakis, I think it was like just a brown leather belt, my nice shoes. I was ready. I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I was probably, I don't know how old I was. I would have been like 22 something, 23, something like that. Probably 22. Anyway, it looked like 15. Showed up, and showed up, whatever it was, 8 a.m., 9 a.m., first day. And she said, and I had met her before, so we weren't meeting, but she was like, I'm glad you're here. This is great. It'll be very interesting. I don't really have anything for you today that I can put you on. Like I'm a little busy and I didn't really get a chance to prepare anything. So I'm just going to have you in the viewing room watching autopsies all day. Take notes. Think of any questions you might have, but that's what you're doing today. This is my day one. You know, it's like you're going to watch autopsies. Go into this viewing room. It's a room that, at least at the old examiner's office, it's a little different now. This was a different building, different facility, but it was just like a long, it was almost like sitting at a bar. It was tall. I think it was like tall stools or chairs or something at like a bar. And the room was like a hallway like that. It was just about as deep as wide as it would have to be to have like a bar top, chairs, and then room to get in and out of the chairs. That's how narrow it was. And on that side where the bar is, there was just a big pane of glass looking into the room where all the tables were. And it was close. Like you're behind glass, but I would say from like, so the feet are toward you 10 feet, 12 feet, something like that. Like you're pretty close. When they're working around the table, they're walking like, it feels like they're walking right in front of you, you know? Okay, so you're right there. Anyway, so she planted me there and I had my notebook and I just like, I remember when, this works out for a good holiday stream, talking about that experience a little bit. I have so many stories from this time here. I'm sure you'll hear more, but I'll talk about day one stories. She walked me in, and it's not like a two-way mirror, like an interrogation room. Like the doctors and the assistants in there, like they see someone if anyone's in that room. So she walked, and there's a little like box you like push with a microphone. Like they can't hear you normally. There's like a little call box thing where you push it down and you can talk. And she said something like whatever this guy's, I don't even remember what the guy's name was, but she was like, hey, this is Gary Hodges. He's going to be interning here this summer for me. Is it okay if he watches today? And I remember the guy, he's sitting there with a body like ready to go. And he just looked and he was like, and just started cutting. Like, right. That was the introduction. So anyway, usually, so, and it was a whole morning of autopsies, and I think it was Monday. So you have all the weekends. So it was, you know, a day. And I found out, we're going to circle back to how that went, but I found out later that my boss, the forensic anthropologist, she actually did have stuff she could put me on, but she wanted to know if I was going to wash out. She wanted to know if I could handle bodies, because that's a thing you don't really know until you're around it. And you might say like, I think I could do it, you know, or you might say like, no, but you don't know. It could be either way. And one of the things I did, she wanted to know, she's like, I can't waste my time with this kid if he's going to like go queasy or freak out every time he sees a body or some blood. So this will be the test. I'll just throw him and make him watch autopsies all the first day. And if he's back tomorrow, then I know it worked out. And if he's not, well, then I didn't waste a ton of time on this idiot. So I think that I didn't realize that at the time. I took her at her word. That's like, I don't really have anything for you, so just watch autopsies. But it can go either way. And one of the things that she would have me do when I was interning there, because she hated it, she thought it was such a waste of time, every once in a while, police agencies would send officers over to tour the examiner's office. And she hated walking them through. She just thought that was just such a waste. She was like, I'm busy. I can't deal with these idiots. Like, I don't want to talk to some fucking cop from wherever who wants to just, you know, looky-loo through the examiner's office. Like, that sounds like intern work to me. You do that. So I was all like, anytime there was a tour, like 2 or 3 cops would show up. It's like, I would walk them through and explain like everything, you know, how it was set up. And I remember there were these 2 ASU cops. Who I immediately got on my wrong side. One of them did, not both. It was 2 guys. One guy you could tell was a little older than the other guy. The other guy was new. He was brand new. And the older guy he wasn't even older. I mean, he wasn't an old guy, but he was just like a couple, he'd been there for a few years, was really like, yeah, we're gonna put him through the ringer today. Oh, he's gonna turn green. He's gonna like, he was just being like a dick, like he just came off poorly. And when my boss was like, Gary's gonna walk you through, the same guy like looked me up and down. And again, I looked like 15 or 16, but he looked me up and down, and he like didn't even talk to me. He talked to her. He was like, this kid is going to take us through, which I found like, I was like, all right, well, now you were on my shit list. Like, what? Like, that's not cool. Like, and he wasn't like funny or like silly. I think like he was very much like, why is this kid walking us through? Which is like, excuse me, I probably already have more education than you, asshole. Like, but anyway, so you can tell I did not impress me, but anyway, so this guy was all like, oh yeah, he's gonna get sick. Oh, it's gonna be great. Like this poor young guy, and this young guy's like, you can tell he's freaked out. He's never seen a body before. We start the tour, and now normally I try to brace people a little. Like if you're going to open a door and there's going to be like a body on the other side, like you say, like you give them just a little bit of a heads up. You don't build it up because you can make it worse. Like you don't want to be like, okay, so just so you know, on the other side of this door, there may be some bodies in there. Now it's okay if you start to feel strange, if you start to feel faint, if you get upset, you can try to understand. Like you can build it up way too much where like now you're going to freak somebody out who wasn't going to be freaked out. But you at least do want to let them know, like, okay, there are going to be bodies on the other side of this door. Let's go in, and just like, so now you don't want to ambush them. Well, this guy was like right behind me, and I was like, and I didn't like him. So I just like blow the door open where there's this full suite of autopsies happening just because it's like, I want to shock him. And what was funny for all his, and this is always the way it is just in life, not just when it comes to autopsies and showing dipshit fake college cops, like, the dead bodies, just everything. The ones who bluster the most never have any sand to back them up. That like they are the biggest wusses. They are the biggest wimps. And like the quiet guy, the new guy who was like, you could tell he was white as a sheet and he was very nervous about it. He was fascinated. He was sitting in there and asking questions, and he did great. You could tell. But the guy who was like all like puffing his chest out and like, this guy, he's going to be vomiting in the alley. Har, har, har. You could tell he was freaked out. And that to me just shows like, you don't know how you're going to react. Like and that's why my boss was like, I'm going to park you on your first day watching autopsies. Cause I need to know right now how this is going to go. Anyway. Yeah, no, you look at the post list every day, you never know, you don't want to see a familiar name, but, so day one, rewinding to my day one, I'm watching this guy's cutting away, and usually you look at the bodies and you can tell why they're in there. The vast majority are one of three things. They're very old, like you can tell. And there was a thing they used to say in the office, like when you'd ask, like, what's the deal with that one? And they would say like TMB. And you'd be like, what? Like earlier, it was like, what's TMB? Like too many birthdays. And that's just, it's an old person. You'll see that on a table, just a very old person. It's like, okay. That's probably most common. Actually, no, that's not most common, because usually if someone's very old, a doctor will just sign off on that and you don't need to do an autopsy. Like they're 95, like it's no great mystery, like, I mean, especially if a doctor is like, well, they were sick and they had heart issues and like, they can sign off on it and avoid that whole thing. I would say most common, what I felt like I was seeing all the time, were cardiac. And you can always spot them by the body type. I hate to say it, and I don't want to alarm anybody if you have this body type, but skinny little chicken legs, big, like, potato-shaped torso, maybe even a little bit of a chubby neck. Like that's, and again, like the chicken legs and like skinny arms. I hate to say it, but that's always what they look like. And when I see them on the street, I just look at them, and I don't, of course I would never say it. I'm not Larry David from Curb Your, but in my head, I'm like, cardiac. You gotta get that shit under control. There's like a look to it. Those are all, every time you'd see them on the table and you're like, that's cardiac. It's gotta be cardiac. So there's that. That was probably most common. Second most common, or maybe tied with the very old people, was traffic. Just lots of people getting hit by cars and car accidents, whatever. Okay. So normally you could beat it. And sometimes you'd see someone that looked fine and looked young, and it's kind of like, what happened? And usually that was like overdose or something. But one time there was a woman there who looked like that, and I was thinking like, maybe it's overdose, or maybe it's, something like that. And so I remember this was later in that first day. I was looking, and all the others you could kind of see, like, that's probably that. That's probably too old. That looks like a traffic accident to me. That looks like traffic accidents. You could also usually tell because they're covered in like the first responder stuff. You can tell someone was trying to work on them and then just called it. So like that, and they leave once someone dies, it's like pencils down, like that. So you'll see like stuff on them. You'll see like they might have the neck brace and things, and like you can tell like they were being worked on. But there was this one woman that was like, I don't know what's going on there. Is that OD? What is that? And so on the call box, I was like, hey, what's going on with this one? And the guy, he can't talk back. I mean, he can, but he'd have to hit the thing, and he's busy. His hands are messy. So he's like, I'll show you. He goes up. Now, again, like feet are toward me, so I can't see really what he's doing. He goes up toward the top of her, and he's like working up there for a little bit. I can't really see what he's doing because of my vantage. And then after just like a few minutes, he comes up with something in his hand. I could tell like he did something on her throat. He like holds this right up to the glass like this far. Imagine you're looking through the glass. He holds this up. It was a half chewed up piece of hot dog. She'd taken too big of a bite, about this long, and it perfectly closed up, choked to death, alone at home. And just, and I have never forgotten that. Every time, and I've had hot dogs since. It's not like it's like I'm done with hot dogs. They're choke machines. Like, no. But I chew the hell out of my hot dogs. Like that scared the shit. And just that horrible. And that was, of all the kind of things I saw that first day, really sad stories. Some of them are, it's like they had a good run. They were 90 something, 80 something. Like it's fine, but I mean, it's, that's life. But some, like, there were sad stories. And that one, more than any of them, just like this poor girl was just sitting at home alone having a hot dog. It just really, like, I still think about it. It's just like, I don't know. That one got in. A lot of the others, worse ones, horrible ones. Like, I'm sure there were so many I probably forgot about most of them. But that one got in. That one still rattles around. So there's your Halloween story. I partially chewed up hot dog. The poor girl who was enjoying it. Let's say her. Okay. Buff up the arms and legs. I'm telling you. I don't want to alarm anybody. Just my limited experience. Little chicken legs, thin arms, kind of potato body. You need to cut back on the sugar, bump up the healthy fat and protein, get some walking in. Just seemed like, I don't want to generalize, I'm not a doctor, but that seemed like the configuration. Saw a lot of that. Enough to like say like, whoa, there's like a look to these, 50-year-olds who are dropping dead from a heart attack. Like it's let's see here. I'm glad. Yeah, CSI Phoenix. I've got, so like I said, the internship was great. It was great for my college career. It was great to help me figure out what I wanted to do with my life. It was an amazing opportunity. But also it gave me so many stories I still tell to this day. Like so many great stories. So like it was a wild experience. It was the best internship a college student could get. Autopsy delights. Okay. It makes me chew my hot dogs like hell. It also makes me very mindful when I'm walking along the street with like traffic, because I saw a lot of people who had been hit by cars. I never thought I didn't even have my own car until after I graduated college. Like I was just busing and walking everywhere or biking. Never thought about it. Did a summer in the examiner's office and now walk the very inside of the sidewalk edge, like very clear of like, and boy, I look both ways a few times before I cross the street. Like there are little things. It's eye-opening. And I wouldn't say it, I absolutely would not say it scarred me or anything. Like but it opens your eyes. It's like, oh. And there's some things. Another thing I'm very careful about now, and I've had like, people think it's a little weird, but like if I light a match to light a candle or something and blow it out, I usually deposit, like I'll run it under sink water, or if I've got like something soaking in the sink, like I'll just pitch it in there. I won't just put it in the trash, because I saw something where someone had candles, they lit them, they blew it out, they threw it in the trash, went to bed. It eventually like ignited, and like this died from smoke asphyxiation. And like that's another one that got in there where it's like, oh shit, like that can, like, try it, blow out a match and feel it. Like it's still, you throw it in a garbage can, it could start up. Scary stuff. It's one thing to go out from like a shark attack or a meth lab explosion, like something where it's like, okay, like it's almost like, but like something, I don't want to say dumb, but like something like that, which like shouldn't even be a thing. A match relit in the garbage. Like, no, you don't want to go out that way. That's not a hot dog. No. Not a fan of White Castle, Whataburger, In-N-Out. Wow, just all of them. I'd rather burger from I get it. I can sort of see that. I mean, I like both. Just it depends what kind of mood I'm in. I honestly, when it comes to burgers, like I like all the things you listed here, and then even like fancy burgers or whatever else. But like my favorite kind of burger is like just a backyard grill, fat, like on a potato bun. with like lettuce and tomato, like just like that's kind of my favorite. But I am very familiar. In fact, I had to go down the degloving rabbit hole for Divers Dem 1997 because there's a scene where someone, their finger gets stripped by a turn of events. And I wanted it to look, because it's me, I wanted it to look accurate, like what that would look like. And I, went down Google image search, degloving, so because I wanted that to look authentic, like what that would look like, which happens, usually it happens in an industrial way, like someone's working in a machine shop and they've got a ring on or something stupid like that, and it catches on it and just shears the flesh off. So you're just left with like a little skeleton finger or hand, sometimes a whole hand. It's scary. It's creepy looking. But Divers Dem 1997, if you go in there, you'll know. If you've read it, you know which part I'm talking about. It's not a full-blown degloving because it's not the whole hand, but it's like one finger gets stripped. I've always felt with Divers Dem, all of them have elements of this. Big sci-fi violence is sort of a part of it. You're going to get people hit by ray guns, and vaporized and whatever, or like mauled or by whatever's going to happen. But I think that's very hard to get a reaction from someone about, because you have no frame of reference of being hit by a ray gun. I think it's always important, especially if you want to like make people cringe from an injury or be upset by an injury or whatever, something that you can imagine, something that's way easier, like think about it in a movie. The reaction you might have to someone taking a piece of paper and running it like between their fingers versus getting shot in the head, which is going to give you more of a visceral reaction? The paper cut. It's because like that's just easier to wrap your brain around. I kind of have the same approach with D versus M. I try to always have some sort of an injury that, not always, I don't think every issue it's not going to be a staple of D versus M, but when I like to try to introduce injuries that are easier for you to wrap your brain around. So like in 97, you have the degloved finger, you have Jenny's fucked up eye where she got kind of like hit on the ground and like hit the ground with her face. I'll leave it there, but I like to, when I can, in 79, there's going to be something like that. And it's also very important to me, partly because Divers Dem is supposed to look very real, but also, again, because of my background and training and career and education, I like injuries to look right. Like I don't like, that is something, just like cheesy autopsy scenes in movies, cheesy looking injuries check me out in a movie where it's like, that's not what that would look like. Kind of like Jenny's black eye in 97, it was important to me to make it what like that kind of black eye would look like. Not like the movie or TV black eye that's almost kind of like, it's very makeup-y and kind of, in a way, sort of pretty. Like it kind of looks designed. Like I wanted Jenny's to look more gnarly and ragged, and I wanted like the bleeding in the white part of the eye. I wanted it to look just like bad. I wanted it to look painful. I wanted it to look like, is that going to heal up? Because that's kind of what a black eye can look like, sometimes if it's really bad. Same with this. There's an injury in this one that I see lots of cheesy versions of in movies that are very cool, and it makes the character still look kind of attractive and neat, rather than like, the reaction, in my opinion, should be, oh God, that would really hurt. Oh God, you would always be aware Like anytime you moved that part of you, like you'd be like that doesn't look fun. That looks bad. And it's not cute or cool looking or anything like that. It looks like uncomfortable, and you worry about how it's going to heal. Like that, that's what I think you should be getting from that. And so there's an injury like that in 79. There you go. I have to admit, I've never had like true New York pizza in New York. I've never been to New York, so I've not had that experience. Casual murder EMT. A bike rider got caught on the back of a semi. Had his lower body degloved. Brutal. That's no good. They try to. I bet. That's horrifying. Yeah, that's. Surprised he lived. Yeah, it's a little shocking. And that's the other thing I got from the examiner's office. Like, bodies are weirdly durable and fragile. Like, people will survive things that you think, like, that's impossible. Like, that person, how is that person alive? Like, injuries you just think would be impossible to survive. People getting shot in the head. People, like, just crazy. Like, just, I mean, I don't want to go down, like, but just, like, stuff where it's like that's not a survivable injury. And yet they live. And then, on the other side, people are going 30 miles an hour in their car, weren't wearing a seatbelt, but 25, 30 miles an hour, there's a bump, there's an accident, steering wheel just pops their chest, shuts their heart off. They look fine. You see them in the examiner's office, they don't have a mark on them. It was just like a kind of basically a slow speed accident, and that was that. Makes no sense. It's weird. It's weird. That's the other thing. Wear your seatbelt. I always wear my seatbelt. Always. I don't care where. If I'm driving in a parking lot, I wear my seatbelt. That's another thing the examiner's office will do for you. You'll chew your hot dogs, and you'll wear your seatbelt. Yeah. Was he shot 11 times? Wow. Terrible. Amy Fisher. Who remembers Amy Fisher? Was it in Joey Buttafuoco, and what was his wife's name? The one that got shot? I don't remember. That was a weird one. Okay. Enough tales of, let's see here. What? I hadn't heard that. I mean, I don't think I even looked at the news today. Yeah, no, but that's what it's crazy. It's crazy. I don't even know why YouTube suggested it to me, but there was some video on YouTube. Some guy he'd been sitting at a bus stop, shot in the head. I'm fuzzy why. He doesn't remember. It almost sounds like it's a random thing, but I'm always very skeptical of that. I just know from my day job, and even all the way back to that, like, examiner's office stuff, that's very uncommon. Like, people like to scare people with this idea of, like, someone's just going to run up and shoot you or stab you or drag you into an alley. That almost never, it's usually, there's usually something more to the story. But this guy got shot in the head. And you can tell like it looks like half his head is just missing. Like they just excised all that was. He was shot in the head with a shotgun. Now, to me, that's like, you're done. You're done. That's it. And I hate to say it, this guy, and this guy, to his credit, is one of those like weirdly mega positive guys who's like, life is good. And you're looking at it like, is it? Like, I mean, like if I got shot in the head with a shotgun, I'd be like, don't save me. Like, it's fine. It's fine. You know, like this guy though somehow pulled through. And you're looking just at the shape of this guy's head now, and you're thinking like, how is that even possible? How is this guy talking? And then this guy slips at home and bonks his head. Bonks his head and he's dead. That guy gets shot in the head with a shotgun and he's still around. It's crazy. It's just crazy. Bar fights. People get hit. They fall down and hit the pavement just right. Die. You know, that person who hit him is being charged with murder. That person's dead. Like something. And yet, again, that guy was at a bus stop, shot in the head with a shotgun. Talking about how life is good. God is great. What? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. All I can do is chew my hot dogs well. Wear my seatbelt. Try and keep the weight down. That's all you can do. I don't know. All right, guys. I gotta finish page 37 and start page 38 and carve pumpkin. I hope I've given you some bizarre and weird and horrible stories for your Halloween Eve. Maybe there'll be more sometime. Like I said, I have 8 million stories from my time at the examiner's office. Some of them are pretty good. I love them. I love telling some of them, but we'll see. We'll see. This is a broad. Normally I do it like one-on-one or in small parties or something. I usually don't do the internet where they can just go everywhere and get shared. I'm a little leery of that, but we'll see. Anyway, I hope you all have a good and safe Halloween, if that's your thing. Like I said, next stream will be a week from today, 11 a.m. Keith Foster. Definitely by then I will be starting page 39 because that'll be Sunday. I may still be like a day behind or something, but that's, even if I am, I should be still on page 39 a week from today, which is great. It's great. It's happening. I wish it was faster. I know some of you wish it was faster. But I'm at the stage, anyone who's probably done any of this can appreciate it. Especially the slow part. The writing is pretty fast, but like if you draw comics, if you're an animator like Jim, anything like that, where you're at this like end stage that was the hardest to visualize ever working on. You know, it just seemed very far off. Like I'm kind of in that I'm getting into that stage of the comic where it's like, I can't believe like this is, it makes finishing way more comprehensible, visualizable. That's not a word, but you know what I mean. Like it's where you really see like, oh, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. Let's see here. Tales from the Morgue. Yeah, there was actually, we might circle back. There was a story I always wanted to, I thought would be sellable. But anyway, I'm sure we'll revisit Tales from the Morgue. Thank you for listening. All right, guys. Good to see you all. Hope you have a good, productive rest of the day and week. And I will see you Sunday with Keith Foster and more D vs. M 1979 progress. Look for top 5 network TV shows, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. with Jim Lujan. I think it's on my channel this week, but I'll post a thing. Just keep a watch. You should be subscribing to Jim Lujan. If you're not, we alternate where the top fives are. Start thinking about your favorite network TV show. Think of it. I mean, that's a big, going all the way back. Maybe it's Little House on the Prairie. I don't know. I Dream of Jeannie. Dallas, Sanford and Son. There's a good one. Yes. Who knows? Good Times, Jeffersons, Alice, WKRP in Cincinnati. I'm just rattling off ones I remember when I was a little kid. Like I don't. None of these are going to be in my top 5, but they're all like I have fond memories of all of them. Okay, I will see you guys in a few days if you tune in for top 5, and a week if you tune in for Keith Foster. I recommend you do both. Take care.